Hey guys, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinners. This first recipe, we are going to be making spinach and artichoke chicken lasagna. So I just have a can of artichokes here. I'm just chopping those up into smaller pieces. And then we are going to go ahead and cut up our chicken. I just cooked this in the crock pot ahead of time so that all I had to do was cut it up when it was time to assemble. So here I have a bag of chopped spinach. I let it thaw overnight and I'm just dumping it into the strainer and I'm going to squeeze out all the water the best that I can. It was really hard to squeeze it all out, but just do the best that you can. I've heard that you can use a cheesecloth as well, but I don't have one of those, so I just used my hands. I ended up just putting it in my palms and just squeezing as hard as I could, and then we're just gonna set that to the side while we work on our sauce. So here I am just working on a basic Alfredo sauce. I just have a couple tablespoons of butter. I put a little bit of seasoning salt in there. I'm just letting it melt down. And then I've got some garlic powder. I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of flour, just let that cook through. Add some half and half, and then some salt, pepper, Parmesan cheese. And we're just gonna let all of that melt, and then we will add in the rest. So now that everything is melted down, we're gonna go ahead and add in our spinach, our artichokes, and our chicken and just stir that all together until it is well combined. So the recipe that I will have linked down below for you, it does things a little bit differently, but as I like to do with most recipes, I just kind of did my own thing. So feel free to use the recipe in the description box as reference, but this is how I did it and it turned out just fine. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and assemble our lasagna. So I'm just putting a couple spoons of the sauce mixture down in the bottom just to make sure that the noodles don't stick. And I did take a shortcut. So the original recipe called for ricotta cheese and lasagna noodles, but I decided to just get the cheese lasagna. I'm pretty sure that there's ricotta inside the ravioli, so I'm just gonna use that instead, and this was amazing. I feel like it was so much easier. You didn't have to cook it as long, and I highly recommend getting the cheese ravioli. So I'm just layering that. I'm just putting it in a single layer on the bottom of the pan the best that I can. We're gonna add another layer of the sauce with some mozzarella cheese, and I think I add another thing of Parmesan cheese as well. And we're basically just going to layer this until all the sauce and ravioli is gone. We will cover it with aluminum foil and bake it in the oven at 400 for about 30 minutes, and then we'll check on it and add more cheese. So one thing that I wanted to say about this recipe is that it might look like enough sauce when you're making the sauce, but once you add everything, it seems like everything just kind of soaks up the sauce. So I would maybe recommend making one batch of sauce, adding everything together, and then making a smaller batch of sauce to maybe drizzle on top. I think that's probably what I'll do next time. We love sauce in this family, so it was a little bit dry for us, but I think I will make an extra batch of sauce the next time. So here you can just see me putting the rest of the sauce on top, and like I said, we're gonna bake this on 400 for about 30 minutes. So with this, we have been loving broccoli in the air fryer. It is definitely our favorite vegetable in this house. Everyone loves it, even my kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they absolutely love broccoli. So I'm just taking a couple things of broccoli and I'm just gonna chop it up and make sure that everything is small enough. You want everything to be about the same size so that it cooks evenly in the air fryer. But basically you just want to cut everything up, put it in your air fryer, drizzle it with some olive oil. I highly recommend using olive oil. I have used other oils and olive oil seems to be the best. And you're just gonna season it with salt and pepper, cook it on 300 for 10 minutes. Make sure you shake it halfway through, and after the 10 minutes, you can check it and see if it's done. Sometimes, depending on how much broccoli and how big the pieces are, I do have to cook it for another 2 or 3 minutes, but turns out perfect pretty much every time. So also with this, I wanted to make some cheese bread. I saw Jen Chapin do this, so I wanted to kind of make my own version. My Walmart has these non-flatbreads. It's the roasted garlic. So I'm just brushing it with some butter, and then I'm just going to add some mozzarella cheese to the top, and we will throw this in the oven with the lasagna as well. So this was really, really good. My husband was kind of like, what is this? This is a lot. And I was just like, well, you know, it's Sunday. It's our Sunday dinner. We're going to eat good. We always eat good on Sundays. Let me know down below, what is the night of the week that you love to cook a big meal? So now that the lasagna is done with the first round, I'm just going to take it out, take the foil off, add some more cheese, and put it back in the oven for about 10 minutes. You just want to get the cheese bubbly and just a little bit brown. It's the best when it's like that. And yeah, I highly recommend that you try this recipe. Like I said, I'll have a link down below for you. So here's what everything looks like when it all came out. There's that delicious broccoli, the lasagna that looks absolutely amazing, and that cheese bread. I just cut it with a pizza cutter. And then here's what my husband's plate looks like when it was all done. Gave him a big old helping of broccoli, some lasagna, and some cheese bread. Okay, so this next night we are making buffalo chicken sandwiches. So I just have some chicken that I'm going to shred up with my hand mixer. I did make the mistake of not shredding it the night before when it was hot, so I was kind of struggling shredding this cold chicken. But basically I'm going to season it with some ranch seasoning. You can use Great Value or Hidden Valley. I just have the big thing of Hidden Valley in my cabinet that I keep. And then I did want to add just a little bit of chicken broth because I didn't want it to be dry. So I'm just going to kind of cook that through, make sure everything is about the same size, and then I'm going to add just a little bit of buffalo sauce. I added maybe 1/4 of a cup. It wasn't that much at all. And then I'm just going to let this cook and do the best that we can. To the side over there, I've got a pot of water that is boiling. I'm actually working on boiling up some noodles. We're going to make some jalapeno mac and cheese as well. So while everything is cooking over on the stove, I'm going to get started on our salad. I was inspired to make an Olive Garden salad through Jen Chapin. Once again, I love her. She's probably my favorite YouTuber. But I just have a bag of salad mix here. I'm going to cut up a cucumber, and then we're just going to add some black olives and some croutons to our salad. So really simple. She uses a bunch of different toppings, but honestly, I've tried making salad for our family so many times, but we just have it for one meal and then it goes bad. And I don't know, maybe it's just a season of life. Maybe if my kids were a little bit older, we would go through a little bit more, but this is probably the last time I'm going to be buying salad for a while because it did end up going bad in the fridge. Okay, so now we're gonna work on our mac and cheese. This was absolutely not necessary for this meal, but I had this stuff in the pantry that I just wanted to get used up, so I went ahead and boiled those noodles. I found this packet of jalapeno cheese Velveeta at the Dollar Tree, and I did decide to pick it up. I would say that I do not recommend. It was a little weird, and it was just a little bit spicy for my kids, so I don't know, maybe just stay away from this, but I do know that the Velveeta, regular Velveeta, is good. So here's what our plates look like. We just serve this with that macaroni and cheese, the buffalo chicken sandwich. I added some chips to my husband's, and here is that salad when it was all done. This next night we are having Philly cheesesteak quesadillas. I was inspired by Kristen's step. Pretty much this entire recipe was inspired by her. So I just have these sirloin steaks at Walmart. They're about $7 for 4 of these. So if you've been hesitant about picking these up, I would recommend. One thing that I did not read while I was cooking was that the steaks are already seasoned, so no need to add any seasoning. I went ahead and did, and they were just a little bit too salty, so just keep that in mind if you do make this. So the directions on the package tells you to take it out of the package and just let it brown on one side for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then go ahead and flip them and let it brown on the other side for another 2 or 3 minutes, and then you should be able to break it up like I am right now. I did have to let this cook a little bit, but once it was easy to break up, I went ahead and added some Worcestershire sauce just to give it a little bit more flavor, and I wanted it to have some of that Philly cheesesteak flavor. So I'm just breaking that up and letting that cook, and then we will remove it from the pan, and I'm going to make some green peppers with mine. I love green peppers. My husband is not a fan, but I wanted peppers with my quesadilla. Okay, so now it is time to assemble the quesadilla. So I just coated one side of my tortilla with some butter, and I'm just gonna lay that that side down on the pan. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put some provolone cheese down. I did use one piece on the bottom and one piece on top. I'm going to top it with some of that meat and some peppers, and then more cheese. And then we will fold it over, and that will be our quesadilla. You basically just want to heat this through. Just make sure that you don't burn it. Watch it really, really closely. I almost burnt mine. But yeah, this was really, really good. I highly recommend. And we actually used A1 sauce as a dip. So it would be good with ranch as well, I feel like. So yeah, if you try this recipe, please let me know. Also, I will leave Kristen's channel link down below for you. But we serve this with some French fries and a pickle just like she did. Okay, so moving on to the next recipe, I will leave the recipe that I used down below for these meatballs. I actually made them in a couple videos back. This is the air fryer meatballs that I made in my air fryer recipes video. So I will leave that link down below for you. It is super simple, and these meatballs are so, so good. So I don't think that I mentioned, but we are making spaghetti and meatballs in the air fryer. I am actually just cooking the meatballs just about halfway so that they don't fall apart in the crock pot. But I've got some marinara sauce here. I am adding that to the bottom of my crock pot, and then adding just a little bit of water to make sure that I get all of the sauce out of the jar. You don't want to waste anything, right? And then I'm seasoning with salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, and just a little bit of Italian seasoning. And then also, I love adding just a pinch of sugar to my marinara sauce. I think it makes it so, so good. If you've never done that, you should definitely try it. It really does a good job cutting down the acidity. And also make sure that you taste everything. Start with a little bit at a time because it can go rogue very, very quickly. So now that my sauce is seasoned, I'm just gonna add some meatballs that I had in my freezer to the bottom, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add the meatballs that I cooked halfway in the air fryer. We're just gonna pop a top on that, and it's gonna cook on low for about 4 or 5 hours. Okay, so here's what they look like when they were all done. Cooking them in the crock pot made them so tender and juicy, and it was so delicious. And once again, we served this with some air fryer broccoli on the side, and I boiled up some spaghetti noodles. This dinner was amazing. This last night, we just had some turkey bacon ranch wraps. Pretty self-explanatory, but that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe. Other than that, I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.